One-point perspective is the simplest way to create depth in a painting. How do you take something like railroad tracks that are parallel to each other in reality and create the illusion that they are receding far into the distance, or a corridor that you are within, and create an illusion that everything also goes back to that distant vanishing point? The vanishing point is when we have two lines that are parallel in space that seem to converge on one vanishing point in the distance on the horizon. For instance, if you had some railroad tracks and you're looking directly down on them, your railroad tracks are going to be parallel to each other in reality. But if we were standing here, there we're standing, and we're looking at this from our point of view instead of straight down, but from down here on the ground, it's going to appear that these two railroad rails, the two rails, will have the illusion of converging in the distance on a vanishing point. So just for the sake of using a straight edge, first I'm going to find the center here because I'm standing right in the middle. They're equidistant from that center. And then the railroad ties here that are equidistant, going back in space, will actually get the illusion of getting closer to each other as they go back. We're always creating illusions because basically we're working with something that is three-dimensional in space on a two-dimensional piece of paper. And as they go back in space, they also get closer and closer and closer to each other. So it goes back in space. Not perfect, but I hope you get the idea. If beside this railroad track there were some telephone poles standing to the side, right? Whoop, whoop, telephone poles. And you created an imaginary line across the tip tops of these telephone poles and across the base of these telephone poles, you would have two more parallel lines. And these two parallel lines would create the illusion of disappearing into that vanishing point on the horizon. Again, the horizon is our eye level. So we're standing here, and this is us. Two views. So now the base of the telephone pole that's beside us, here's the base of that telephone pole. Here's the telephone pole, and it goes above the horizon because we can see it on the ground below us, and we can see it up above us. There's our first telephone pole. So that imaginary line of the base of the pole and the top of the pole will converge on the vanishing point on the horizon. Ta-da! Now we know exactly where to put the other poles. Remember, the tip tops each have to touch this top, and the bases have to touch here. We want it vertical because telephone poles are basically vertical. And as they go back in space, well, maybe half the distance as they go back in space. So the same as the railroad ties. They get closer together as they go back in space. We can also do the same idea with the crossbar of the telephone pole. That one goes there. That one goes there. So they each meet on each telephone pole. Let me see. Yeah. There. 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 See? And now you have created this great illusion of railroad ties and telephone poles going back in space in one-point perspective, because everything that's parallel to each other converges on that one vanishing point in the distance. Well, there it is, the absolute beginning of perspective. If you want to learn more, follow me to my Patreon page in the link below and join with the Atelier or Maîtrise level. And meanwhile, keep drawing and enjoy life.